Welcome.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you again I'm sure we've got some repeat people that are joining us for now. I think it's our fourth workshop now. Yes, fourth. Thank you, Allie. Lost count already. My name is Nikki. I'm the VP of Development for Palm Beach Tech. And we are a tech nonprofit. We started, just as I was mentioning prior, we actually just had our 5th year anniversary event last night, which we're very excited about. We started as a Palm Beach County-wide organization and actually just announced last night that Palm Beach Tech is going to be becoming South Florida Tech. So that will be the new name. And we now are a regional organization. So now with our members from Martin County to Miami, we're going to be bringing a lot more people together, touching more people as a region. And of course, our whole goal and mission to build South Florida as a tech hub, we'll be able to do that much better with having some more regional partners. So talking about some of those partners, this morning we're actually having our summer webinar series with Palm Beach County School District, Broward County School District, and then Path to College. I want to go ahead and pass this over right now to Allie, who's our summer talent intern. And she is actually the main person that has put all of this, the webinar series together for us. So I want her to talk a little bit about what the webinar series is, and of course the importance of it as well. Allie, whenever you're ready.
Sure. Sorry for the feedback. But Tony, if you want to say any words real quick.
I will. Thanks, Allie. Just want to say good morning to everybody. Thanks for joining us. Man, this is a great partnership that we've developed here with Palm Beach Tech, soon to be South Florida Tech. The opportunity to gain knowledge and glean information from professionals and experts that are outside of our school district is, it's paramount to us learning new and effective ways to teach online. I mean, this is our new reality here. So really looking forward to what Rick's going to present to us today, and I can't wait to get it started. Thanks.
Thank you, Tony. And I think I saw Lito on here. Do you want to give a little word about Path to College?
Sure. Thanks, Allie. Hi, my name is Lito. I'm the program coordinator for Path to College. We are a local nonprofit in the Palm Beach County area, helping low-income, high-achieving students. And we're very grateful to be partnered with Palm Beach Tech and the school district for these workshops. Likewise, we are deeply involved in the education system here in Palm Beach County and are really looking forward to getting some more information on how to better serve our students. Just shout out for the teachers here. We actually, our nonprofit our student fellowship is in application phase, and we have an open house today. If your students are interested, I'll put that in the chat right now. But thank you so much, Allie. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Lito. And like Nikki said, Broward County Schools are also a partner in this, but I don't think Lisa's on here today. But moving forward, so in 2018, Code Palm Beach was established as Palm Beach Tech's effort to introduce K-12 students to computer coding and technology. Our mission to build South Florida into a tech hub includes our next generation of techies. The summer webinar series is geared towards current high school students, those who have recently graduated, and their teachers. We not only want to expose children to STEM at an early age, but help nurture and support the love of STEM by keeping them engaged through high school and into college. Our webinar today, Engagement Through Gamification, we will learn what gamification is and how to enrich classes and increase student engagement through gamification. I'm so excited to turn it over to Dr. Rick Bair, the Associate Dean of the Distance Learning Institute in the Division of Continuing and International Education at the University of Miami. So Dr. Rick, if you'd like to start.
All right, thank you. Let me share my screen. And isn't that such a mouthful of an introduction?
It was, but it's all right.
I stumble over it myself, so I feel the same way that you do when you go through those kinds of things. So welcome to the Instructional Technology Workshop Series. I'm so happy to be here. Today we're going to discuss engagement through gamification, a little bit about myself. As you know, I am the Associate Dean of all those things. I oversee all the domestic and international online learning programs, the course design and instructor training at the university. And I'm a gameaholic. So this is the part where you can all say, hi, Rick. Yes, and I go deep, way back as a gameaholic. I've taught every age group from K through 12 and through adults. My K-12 years being mostly social studies and science. In higher ed, I've been a School of Education doctoral program chair of instructional design for online learning and a professor of many teacher and leadership and education topics. Whatever the age group, didn't really matter. I always tried to work in various types of gamification learning environments. Just so you know about me, at my core, I am a constructivist as like a core, but I believe in that allows me to blend in lots of other philosophies and learning styles into my lesson design. So I would, I guess, classify myself as a blended philosophy learner, but I think I like building on things and learning, helping students learn and keep building on what they're learning. So gamification, a little bit of history, because I was a history teacher. Nick Pelling coined the term gamification in 2003, but it was meant more for the corporate world where they were trying to boost loyalty and name brand. In 2009, it officially leapt into the realm of education. And I say that because before that, I'd been creating lessons a decade earlier, and I've actually won Teacher of the Year awards for state of Maryland, Eastern region of the US, and the one year I was even a national finalist. All of it was because of engagement garnered through using what became known as gamification in the K-12 classrooms. So that's why I'm saying I'm a gameaholic and I'm still on the wagon. For those that have never dealt with gamification, it's the use of game design and mechanics to enhance non-game contexts by increasing participation, engagement, loyalty, competition, or a blend of all of those. These methods can include points, leaderboards, direct competition, stickers or badges. The sky's the limit of how you want to term this. And they can be found in industries as varied as personal healthcare, retail, and of course, what we're talking about today is education. You have likely participated in gamification, whether you recognized it at the time or not. When you carried that punch card from Subway, Jersey Mike's, or whatever sandwich shop that said, get 10 punches and you get a free sandwich. Now that's how they gamified bringing you back for that brand. Or on social media, probably even more popular, if you posted pictures to gain X amount of likes to reach some level of notoriety. LinkedIn provides the display of badges showing a skill set or a knowledge growth that a person has achieved. The idea is to encourage brand loyalty or motivate a person to do more. So, how does gamification impact the education sector?
Dr. Bair?
Yes.
Just wanted to let you know, because we can see both slides. So I don't know if it's confusing for anybody. We see like your current slide and the next slide, like with your notes. I figured just to let you know, just in case, because we can see both of them at the same time.
Okay. I didn't do that yesterday. Not sure that I can, sorry, lost my voice there. Not sure I can fix that.
Okay, okay. I figured I'd just let you know just in case.
Because yeah, I'm just on one screen at the moment.
Okay.
In everything I teach, I work to find ways to develop critical thinking skills. Gamification is a great tool for that risk-reward decision and the planning out of a strategy. Gamification allows for student agency, which I'm a huge fan of. It gives the learner the power of decision-making and choosing the path and the pace of their learning. And it also provides a more comfortable environment for them to learn in. Wrapping it all up by having the learners tell their story through a narrative technique, reflecting on the outcome and what they might do differently in the next situation, then completes the critical thinking development cycle. There are those who resist gamification in education. Often they cite its improper use of rewards as a motivator. And you have critics that argue that relying on games can be detrimental to intrinsic motivation. Receiving a badge for a job well done is meaningless without an understanding of what specific skills this badge rewards. And I think that's where LinkedIn does a great job of, you can gloss over a person's badge and it says, this person has completed these competencies to earn this badge. And I think that's critical. Otherwise, it's just a graphic design type of thing. So I don't believe games can be used to replace pedagogy, but games can be used to enhance the overall learning experience. Today's school-age children are immersed in gaming at home and in their interactions with their friends. So let's simulate some of those concepts they're already familiar with. What if, and I know this could be crazy, but what if you abandoned grades and implemented an experience points system? Students' letter grades are determined by the amount of points they have accumulated at the end of the course. In other words, by how much they have accomplished. So students are progressing towards levels of mastery as one does in games. Each assignment and each test feels rewarding rather than disheartening because they want to get as many points as possible to level up. Using experience points allows educators to align levels with skills and highlight the inherent value of education. I think badges can be a great motivator, and I can attest that it drives me to achieve on tools such as Duolingo. If you've not used Duolingo, it's a gamified language learning application, and it's based on constructive levels of learning achievement. Yes, I'm the diamond level, and I'm currently on 576-day streak. It motivates me to keep going. So let's apply that to schoolwork. For each assignment completed, award students with badges. This may seem like a regression back to kindergarten with stickers or gold stars, but it works for Khan Academy. Students watch instructional videos, they complete problem sets. Khan Academy awards them with points and badges to track their progress, award skill levels. It's a great program. I wish I'd thought of it. And speaking of math, a gamification plan I was a part of designing involved levels and badges, not just for learning math skills, but for teaching them. And I'm a fan of that pyramid of you learn something, you apply it, you practice it, and at the top you're teaching it. And that's when you really retain the knowledge. So let's say a learner has achieved earning the badges for completing the basic algebra levels for addition, subtraction, multiplying, and dividing. You award them a first level peer instructor badge. And then for every 5 students who need help comprehending a math skill, they help complete a basic algebra level. They level up, and leveling up is what excites them. And then the teacher could keep a leaderboard that shows who the peer instructors are and by their levels, what level you want to assign them, how helpful they might be or how helpful they have been in the past. So by teaching, the peer instructors advance their skills, and then the teacher now has motivated help in the classroom to spread the load. Especially when there's more difficult learning concepts coming. It helps that they're not the one person running around the classroom trying to do things. And instead of having a point system showing for the levels, I think it's more fun to label the levels, like for earth science students. They could be working their way up the levels of hardness scale instead of showing those points. So everyone wants to be a diamond, but you work your way up. And that reinforces they know just from using it what the hardness level scales are. So I think that's a neat little concept. So you can do that for reading, English. There's a lot of concepts where you just kind of label the levels. For University of Miami, the distance learning team created, well, they gamified the workshop series for faculty. And faculty could attend workshops, get points. They could lead workshops, get points. If they took what they learned in the workshops and applied them into their curriculum, they got points for that. So that's what we wanted. But I think labeling the levels that they earned moving up, we played with Sebastian the Ibis, the mascot. So the first level, entry level, was a hatchling. And then you work up to a nestling and a fledgling. Well, if you've been teaching for 25 years, you don't want to see a leaderboard with your name that says you're a hatchling. So I think some of the fun there was motivating them to get more points to move up towards Grand Sebastian, which is where we want everybody to be anyway. So I think if your technology trainers and so on are thinking like gamifying the workshop series, that may be another motivator that is helping the teachers learn more instructional tools, things like that. So just leadership ideas. Video games. I grew up when Atari and television were first introduced, and it was all about getting to that next level. It consumed me, and maybe I'm weird that way. Later, as a teacher, I purchased a class set of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? And boy, do I wish I'd have come up with that idea, because it's perfect for middle school geography. You're traveling the world, you're looking at country flags, their currency, their governments, their major imports, exports, languages, all those things. It's like there's so many cool things in there that supports what you're teaching them throughout the year. And it gives them a nice break every now and then to say, okay, let's stop this and, let's do an hour of Carmen Sandiego and turn them loose for a bit. So that was fun. So there's more and more games coming out, but these are some of the first. The Oregon Trail was another one I used for my US history course in 8th grade back in the day. A lot of critical thinking skills. What am I going to take? What am I not going to take? How fast am I going to travel? What do I do when I face adversity? These are all great skills that they get instant feedback on, and they can fail, they can overcome, they persevere. And there's they're given their own sense of agency because they're making the decisions and they have to live and die with those decisions. I think the more student agency they have, the better students feel about their learning environment. Quizlet is another great tool that there's already so many things out there. If you've never used Quizlet.com, it's like a review tool. You can do languages, math terms, English terms, all kinds of terms. And there's flashcards. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And we're going to look at a shot of that screen in a moment. Talk about how they gamified some of that learning to kick it up another level. Tournaments, they require a bit more from the instructor. I don't want tournaments to be seen as a negative experience for some learners. So if you're going to use them, it does incentivize students to learn the material and practice. Because after all, everyone wants to see their name moving up the leaderboard. But what about those who aren't doing as well? I don't want them to feel they're inferior. So you have to be creative and add bonus point categories for like who learned the most that day, who helped others acquire a skill, who tried the hardest, and kind of help them feel good about themselves. So, you know, tournaments, it's an option, it's there. I will say for my AP students, they thrived in that because they're already so competitive. But in my other student groupings, I tended to shy away from that kind of thing, unless it was in group work and that the groups were going to compete together. So clicker tools, something else I love to use. I know that iClickers on campuses for universities are really handy because you can take attendance and it's got GPS in it. So you know if the student's in front of you or not. But in the K-12, you know, I did use phones in my classroom when I was teaching in a high school, but it was frowned upon, but I always justified by what I was doing because I was using technology. And the principal liked me, so I got away with a lot of things. But my clickers were numbered secretly to my seating chart. So I could run the data after every class and see who was getting things right often, who struggled, what questions maybe the whole class struggled on. So I knew to come back the next day or the next class, whenever it was, if it was 2 days later, and beef up that topic again. So clickers are just because of the data thing behind it. I always thought that was a good thing to have to help me as an instructor. The Quizlet tool, you know, there's a lot of options here, and this is outside the classroom. This is something they can do on their own. So you got the flashcards, they can practice, practice, practice. You can do the writing, the spelling. There's little mini tests in a variety of ways. You can create your own with a free teacher account, but there's already so many made. And the gamified part is like tools like the gravity. Asteroids are falling, and you know, maybe it's got a Spanish word on it and they have to type the English translation before the asteroid hits the ground. So, you know, the motivation is, you know, they do that, they get it right. They don't want the asteroid to hit the ground, but the more they get right, the faster they fall. So it becomes a game in that manner. So it's kind of a neat tool. I've gotten caught up in it because as a teacher, I've created lessons in there, and sometimes I want to play with it to see what it's like for them. Red asteroids fall, and that means that you've gotten that term wrong in the past. So when you see a red asteroid, it's like, oh, okay, what did I do wrong last time? And I got to figure it out really fast before it hits the ground. So I think it's a neat tool, and it's something that is like a supplement. So I would recommend that if you've never used that. Teachers, you get free accounts so that you can create lessons in there, and then just you steer your students, say, look for my name, and under my name, you'll see this lesson, and this is what I want you to work on this week. So great little tool. Encouraging camaraderie among students by setting up a reward system where students earn something as a team. And I was big in using this in especially, I don't want to really call them lower levels, but they weren't like AP or honors. They were like bunched in below that. And they weren't as driven by competition. And they loved the team concept of learning. So, and that's one of the beautiful things I love about using like Zoom or Collaborate Ultra is you can break them off into groups and they can go off and discuss things, figure it out and come back and then present it the whole group. So using that, for example, you can set a goal of 8% of the class passing an exam. As a reward, the entire class gets bonus points. The caveat is you want the students, I wanted them working together instead of competing on the material. So then the higher levels achieving students will help those around them. And ultimately, that's what I'm looking for. As educators, we hope games translate learning into informal environments. There simply aren't enough hours in the day for us. We know that. We're tired. You know, on top of teaching, I also coached chess and basketball year round, chess at the national level. So time was crucial to me. So how do I do things? How do I motivate students to do things after the bell rings? So that's when we came up with treasure hunts or quests. When I was teaching 6th grade world geography, there was a news event about US trade relations with other countries. And I thought, oh, this is a great thing to work in. So when I said, all right, this was in the news, let's talk about it. At first I got the, who cares? Why is it important to us? We don't care. So I said, you know, what are your favorite things at home? Where do they come from? And, you know, the store, that's their answer. Everything comes from the store. So instantly I'm like, all right, I'm going to motivate you to figure out where these things come from and why trade is so important. So I gamified their homework. I said, everything in your house that you've bought has to have a tag on it that says what country it came from. So for their homework, I said, go around the house. I want you to list the item and the country it came from, and I want you to have at least 20 items. Well, and I said, and bonus points, here's the gamification part. Bonus points for those who come in with things from the most different countries. So I asked for 20. At minimum, everyone did at least 50. It was crazy. Parents were involved. And I was hearing from them saying, we had the best time. It was like an Easter egg hunt, running around the house, picking things up to see where they came from, trying to find different countries. So it was great. We graphed it the next day. The whole next day became a whole conversation of trade. And suddenly they saw the value in understanding the importance of major trade, the countries, the partners we have, and all those kinds of things. And the best part was I knew in those households, students and parents were sitting down to dinner or somewhere talking about education in a positive manner. They were excited. And that's kind of what drives me. I want people excited about learning. So talk about an example of a cross-curricular activity that could be done so you get an idea of thinking about this as well. Because I was a social studies and science teacher, but I was always looking for ways to cross curriculum, whether it's having the reading teacher schedule book selections to match my units, or bringing in science and math as part of my instruction. So the example I'm going to share, and I did a lot of these, I was known for just creating crazy stuff. We were doing early interactions between Africa and Europe. And for the lesson, I had the class determine the difference between wants and needs as a warm-up. You know, how do you classify what's a want and what's a need? And I said, think about the things you love, your favorite games, toys, whatever. What's wants, what's needs for your life? So we played around with that, and then I slid into using their definition to help them understand why Central Africans traded blocks of gold equally for blocks of salt to Europeans, which was mind-blowing to a 6th grader. Because why would you trade gold for salt? That's just stupid in their mind, and that's what they would say. And I'm like, well, think about it. Central Africa, it's really hot, and they don't have salt. They must have salt in their diet to stay healthy. So they need that. Gold was doing nothing for them. So if Europeans wanted it, hey, I'll give them that for gold. So they traded equally. So the obstacle between this trade is the Sahara Desert. So that brings up caravans. How do you cross the Sahara Desert? Would you want to cross the Sahara Desert? What are your options for doing it? So we discussed the caravans going back and forth, the danger from malaria, tsetse flies, sandstorms, all the things that they might face, raiders, whatever. You can be really creative here because lots of crazy things happened, or they just got lost. So this led to an experiential learning gamification that could be done in partnership with the math classroom. So in social studies, I'm talking about social studies, the culture and all that. In math, they got to be a little more creative with numbers. So, and I did this this was a middle school. I think I was 6th grade level when I did this, but I brought it back and did it at the high school in a world geography course. And I really played with wacky numbers. So I kept it really math friendly at the 6th grade level because they're trying to put equations together. But you can play with this and change it however you want it. So to start, every trader, which was the students, they each got $1,000 to invest in building their caravan. Each block of gold to be shipped could be purchased for $1. They had 3 options for carrying the gold and salt across the desert. A human, for $10 a round trip, could carry 40 pounds. A mule for a round trip could carry 100 pounds, or a camel that costs $100 per trip could carry 250 pounds. If they chose to use mules or camels, then they must also pay to have a non-cargo carrying human for every 4 animals to lead the way. So you could spend a class, which I did before I turned them over to the math person. Now, the math person loved this idea. So I guess it's the relationship you have and whether they want to give a little bit of time with their class to do this. But you could spend time working through the options, helping them build the equations to see X amount of humans, X amount of mules, camels, whatever, a mixture. How would you work it out to get the maximum cargo going back and forth? So you might want to think about how you play with that. At the high school level, I kind of let them learn by trial and error and figure it out on their own, which was great because they come back like, okay, I'm just struggling here. I can't make this work. And then they're coming to you for help, which is another good thing. As a warm-up each day, the students rushed into class. This would be the math class, and quietly figured out and submitted their caravan choice for the day. Each successful block of salt they came back with, they got to sell it at 5 times the price they paid for in gold. That's exciting, 5 times, wow. And of course, at that point I said, well, you know, if they sailed around the African peninsula and to India, they usually made a 300% markup on their cargo. And okay, that number was too big for them to understand. So this was an easy one, 5 times, 1,000 or $1 brick, whatever. It kept it simple math. So the first few days, safe journeys, get in the flow of things, understand, you know, build your caravan bigger and bigger. You get your wealth growing, you're getting excited. You know, now they start trying to figure out what they thought was the best process. The leaderboard is really packed. It looks pretty similar. They're all grouped up there. It's looking good. And then day 4 is time to add realism and cause some chaos to their plans. So usually I begin with a swarm of tsetse flies that killed off 20% of the caravan. The eyes were huge. And 6th graders, you know, this is like, what? And suddenly they're like, oh, I just lost 1 of 4 camels. That's huge. It's just laying in there in the desert. And then other ones are like, well, if my caravan goes along and sees that and I got room, can I pick them up? So you can play with this. It's a lot of fun to where their minds start going. But the bottom line is the critical thinking really explodes as they try to figure out what kind of caravan now can take the smallest percentage profit lost. So it's like constructivist going on here. It's building, they're learning and trial and error. The next day it could be random percentages to each student. Maybe some of them escape trouble. In the hallways now, you've got huge conversations. The lunch conversations are dominated by what happened to you, how's it going, what are you doing, what worked for you, what didn't work. And then the teachers, which is the fun part, come to me saying, what in the world are you guys doing that this is all the students are talking about? So it's like, it just takes over the school, and it's great fun to see that happen. So in essence, they had homework, but it was never officially assigned. They just knew they had to come to class every day and do that. I knew they were going to that class with a plan already in mind, depending on what happened. So it's like, you know, they're doing it on their own. They're motivated outside the classroom to do some thinking and so on. And after a couple more days, it's like time to bring this to an end. So I would announce, you've got 2 more trips to see who will become the Sultan of the Sahara Trade Empire. On the last day, they came in and settled down, and it was announced that massive sandstorms had struck some areas and wiped out some of the caravans. Yeah, big eyes, huge eyes, looking around like, oh no, I put everything into this and I may have just lost it all. So as a teacher, I had what was referred to as the cup. And I had classed all the student names in there, so I could like pull it for random groups, pull it for partners, whatever, or pull it for things like this. And I said, I'm going to draw out X amount of names. If you hear your name called, that means the word in town is that your caravan survived and it's here, all totally intact. So name by name gets called out, and the students are like, some of them are like groaning in agony, and some are like so excited because they made it. And when the final name's called, the Sultan was crowned and math ruled the school. It was really cool. So think of the real life experience applications they gained from this lesson. You can do this online as warm-ups. You can do it as a discussion board. There's a lot of ways that I did this in the face-to-face classroom, but looking at it, I'm like, how could I make this more of an online idea? So there's just some ideas I did. Before we get into questions, this link, if you want to take a screenshot, something we built at the University of Miami through a Knight Foundation grant is a workshop on narrative techniques. And there are 6 types of narrative techniques in this workshop. There's a how-to guide, there's faculty and student examples of projects of the different techniques, which are case studies, project-based simulations, student-generated media. There's a lot of wealth in this, and it's free, it's yours, please use it. So I want to make sure I give you more tools for your toolbox, especially like the student-generated media, because I think a lot of students can do that now with phones, iPads, and so on. You can do a lot of neat video things to tell your story of whatever your content is for that lesson. So use that. And now let's talk questions.
Thank you, Dr. Bair, for that. At this time, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to take yourself off mute. I am gonna read out some of the questions that came through chat. And I also actually do want to mention LM listed there says a list of free educational games and put the URL there. So if anybody is interested, that looks like a good one. So Dr. Bair, first couple ones that I have is, does gamification work just as well with high schoolers or the older students as they would with elementary who are already used to a lot of games?
I think it's really equal. I think it's the level of what you're doing of the game itself and what you want to put into it and what you want them to get out of it. So I think at all ages, even in adults in my college courses that I teach, if I find ways to gamify it, there's that spur of, oh, I got to do this. I got to level up. I got to do whatever it is that needs to be done. That being said, I think the K through say 8 probably embrace it more than high school, because you're going to get some high school kids. And, I had AP government, and then I had, sadly, what they called the bottom, the ones who only came for 2 classes and then they went off to their regular jobs because they needed that class to graduate. They were not motivated to do much of anything, but by making things as hands-on as possible and trying to make it fun and finding ways to gamify it, I kind of won them over. It would take a while. So, how much perseverance do you have, I guess would be the question, because it's going to take some work depending on the student's motivation. And when you have a whole class of 30 of that, that can be a struggle, but I am bullheaded. So let's put it that way.
Yeah, and this actually, that kind of is a good segue going into the next question. The person had asked, are points, levels, badges, etc. enough with gamification, or should the kids, it says, should the kids win something with those levels, such as something physical, like physical prizes or whatever in the classroom? And if so, how can we do this virtually?
Yeah, I would say I would shy away from them actually winning something, unless you want to throw bonus points out there. Once you start getting into the physical winning of something and awarding it, especially in an online environment, that can be really difficult. So I think the leveling up, moving from level to level, should be enough. And if they really want to fight that hard, if they want to become the Sultan or the Grand Sebastian or whatever you want to call it, the diamond level, hopefully that's enough motivation, because if you start physically giving them stuff, you set a precedent. And then every game's got to have some physical reward, or it's going to be like, well, what do I get? And then you got a different problem. So that's why I would shy away from that, especially online.
I agree. I know just from my personal experience, I don't have a high schooler yet, but I have a middle schooler. And I know he definitely would rather, play the video games and, get to different levels and whatever than, I mean, I've offered him, even money or whatever, just to clean his room or do whatever. But if I give him time on the games, that's what he wants. I mean, he loves, like you mentioned, the Khan Academy. He loves that stuff too. So I think that, in my opinion, that is just enough. Like, I know when I've even tried to offer him things, it doesn't work.
Well, I will say that with my daughter going through middle school back in the day, my motivation was, for every good test score she brought home or every good report card, whatever, a good assignment of anything, I would take her out on a motorcycle. And I've never seen a kid's grades skyrocket so fast. Across the board, every subject. She could not wait. I mean, I'd come home and she'd be sitting there with a smile holding the motorcycle helmet like, let's go. I did something great today. So, motivation comes in a lot of different ways. That wasn't even gamified. That was just a reward. It was a physical one. But, it gave us a chance to bond as well. So for my own daughter, that was a good thing. But as a teacher, I'm not giving everybody a motorcycle ride.
Well, actually, somebody in the comments too had put, I think it was Sarah, said, and rewards could be something like the teacher will wear a ridiculous hat the next day to class or something like that, which I'm glad you said that, Sarah, because I actually have, when I was in high school, my Spanish teacher, she used to do exactly that. She used to wear something crazy or do something crazy, or we got to watch a movie or do something, you know, so different or kind of out of the box in the classroom. And those were a lot of our rewards. So yeah, I think it can definitely, it doesn't have to be something physically that you get to give to the kids. But once they reach a certain level or point or get a certain badge, then maybe the teacher does something for them. So I think that is a good point.
Yeah, I dyed my hair once.
Let's see, got a couple more questions that came through here. I forgot who asked this in chat, but it came through and said, what is the sense of urgency with gamification?
I don't know that it's a sense of urgency as much as it's a way to build engagement, take the mundane lessons, you know, when students, like I said, when we talked about the trade relations, and they're like, we're kids, we don't care about that. But by making it fun, suddenly they realize it does affect them. So I don't know if it's a sense of urgency per se, but I always try to I want everyone to learn. That's my passion. I want to do what I can to help them understand things better. And if I can get them to learn it in a fun way, then they are more likely to embrace my next lesson and the lesson after that. So for me, it's like constructivism. It just keeps building, and that's my long-term goal. As far as, do you have to do everything in gamification? No, absolutely not. Some things just aren't meant to be gamified. It's just, you know, it's fun to give them the unexpected every now and then and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. And I'm not going to say we're going to play a game. I'm just going to kind of roll into it and say, here's our next assignment and what we're going to do type of thing. And then slowly they figure out, oh, this is going to be fun. This is what I got to do. I think as soon as you put a game on, the term game on something, you change the learning. They go right to the World of Warcraft idea or something like that. And I want to keep it learning.
Yeah, and I think, and this is only coming from my point of view, just my personal experience growing up is, you know, for me, the teachers that did use more gamification and reward systems and those type of things, because I naturally, it runs in my family, it's hereditary. We all have stress and anxiety disorders. So when it came to tests, that level of urgency that's there that I have to study, I have to learn, you're regurgitating things. I actually, when it came to test day, my mind was blank. I think sometimes the gamification gets rid of the urgency, which is good, because then the kids are focused on what they're actually doing and they're having fun, not realizing they're learning. And so on purpose, it kind of gets rid of the urgency. I know, at least for me, that's what a lot of my teachers that knew about my test and stress anxiety when I was younger did a really good job of gamifying things. And the other ones that didn't do that naturally in the classroom, because there was that urgency and stress, I actually did much worse in the classroom. But that's just my personal experience.
No, I agree with you there.
Couple more questions here. So, and I'm sorry if I'm ruining the name here. Asma said when you were on slide 9, asked if you can share some links of narrative techniques that you used.
So does she need the link itself again?
Was there a link that you had shared there? I might have missed that.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that up. And
yes, and some of the comments in chat too. Nellie says kids love competition. They do, naturally.
Yeah. So let's go back to the screen share here, and there's the link to the UM narrative techniques, and that takes you right to it and explains what narrative techniques are. And then it shows you the 6 different kinds of techniques that we laid out, a full workshop. So you can go through, and it's a step-by-step process showing you how to do one. Also showing you a UM instructor walking through the same steps and what they thought as they were putting the lesson together along the way. And then it culminates into student examples, like 7, 8, 9, 10 examples of actual student projects based on that technique, as well as an instructor or a couple instructors. And
Allie, do you mind, just while as Dr. Bair talks, that link, that you see on the screen, do you mind pulling that up and dropping the URL in the chat? Some people are asking.
Yeah, it's not working. Yeah, sorry.
Give me
no, go ahead.
See if I can get it here. So let me do that, and then I'll stop sharing, and I'll go on the link and post it everyone.
Thank you. All
And
right. And while you're doing that, I'm going to read out the next question here.
Nikki,
Let's
could I
see.
jump in here for just 1 second?
Yeah, of course.
While you're looking through the chat, because we got a lot of stuff going on there. Thank you so much, everybody, with the questions and the input. I had mentioned a few minutes ago in the chat that Kahoot is pretty useful, and I wanted to qualify that. Rick, I support a lot of CTE programs where students are, as part of the curriculum, sit for industry certification exams, and for some of our students, you know, they're naturals at it, but for others, you know, they go through that same scenario, Nikki, that you were talking about, where their minds go blank. Industry certification tests are hard, and there's a timer at the bottom of the screen that's counting down.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably stressful, and I think something as simple as teachers setting up a Kahoot, and I'm just using that as an example. It's not a one size fits all, but it's a competitive game situation where there's a timer, and students have to compete and see how quickly they can get answers correct, and they get more points based on how quickly they get the answer correct. I think these are the types of gamified situations that students are comfortable with, and the more they do them, the more likely it is that they're going to be comfortable when it comes to time to sit down and take, you know, something as massive as an industry certification. So I think gamification is a wonderful tool that teachers can use in the classroom. But I think it can be more than just an engaging tool. I mean, it's really prepping them for those high stakes tests too. That I mean, there's a clock right on the screen. I mean, the first time I ever took one as an adult, you know, my heart started pounding. The clock is ticking, and I'm hitting a button to answer. And because it's an online test, it kind of stops, and the clock's ticking, and the next question hasn't opened yet. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to run out of time. So I think the more we can incorporate this with our students, the less anxiety they're going to have come test time. So the only other thing I would say is, obviously, we're going to be doing distance learning here for the foreseeable future. So, Rick, if you've got anything else, because I know we have to wrap it up here soon, anything else that you can share with us with regard to links or assistance, links that you can share with even Nikki, I'd be happy to pass those along to our teachers.
okay, yeah, we obviously we're really moving hard, which really cut into my prepping for this because we're trying to move the whole university potentially. At least hybrid in the fall. I know the president wants them on campus. I'm not believing that that's going to really happen until it happens. And then for how long? Because, you know, who knows what's going to happen when we get 17,000 students together again. To me, there's just no way you can social distance a mob like that. And that's what's going to happen. Class is going to end. They're all going to come out and boom, let's go eat. So yeah, I think online is really, you know, we're really pushing instructional technology tools, and we do workshops with that. We've been doing a series of 10 workshops for our own faculty, and I'm wondering, I think Johnny's on this. I'm wondering if maybe I circle back around and send you a link to what we're doing, because, you know, it's at different levels, beginner, intermediate, advanced, of how to design your courses, how to blend in instructional tools, pedagogy, things like that. And it's really, we're just trying to help. So, you know, it doesn't matter to us if there's 50 people in there or 30 people in there. It's still, we're working through the same stuff. So we'll share, I'll send that link back out. You can share that. Oh, there it is. Johnny is still here. So there it is in the chat. You see oh, he sent it to me privately.
Yeah, and any links or anything, Dr. Bair, that you want to get to us, I think Allie put it in the chat, but we're going to send also, we'll send that to you, Tony, but then we're also going to send, for anybody that's in here on Zoom, a follow-up email with some links and different resources. And we've got, I think, just about 10 minutes left. So I do have a couple questions. I've got one comment in here, actually, and I've seen a lot of it in chat, mentioning both Kahoot and then it's, if I'm pronouncing it right, Quizzes.com. Carolee had said earlier that it actually has reports that allow you to view individual students' performance, as well as questions, data, percentages answered correctly, incorrectly, and then which answer was wrong or right. So that's really helpful to know too. Thank you, Carolee, for that.
Yes, those are kind of tools that, especially if you're timed, the more you can repeat and repetition and get them through, specifically for certain tests. I know as teaching we had to take all those teacher tests, and that one was like a 4-hour monster. You had to write 12 essays, and then there were always multiple choice, and just watching that clock on the wall was maddening. Hated that test. I hope they got rid of it.
This one might be a question for you, Tony. Praveen, who we know really well at Palm Beach Tech, he asked, how can game designers adapt their existing game design documents as classroom lessons for teachers? I think that might be a good connection that can be made there.
Yeah, that's a great question. And my daughter is entering in game design as a major. So I'm really curious how this is going to go. And we also partner with Magic Leap to bring in the mixed reality aspects to our lessons. And I'm going to say that it's kind of been what I expected, because my dissertation was on Second Life, virtual reality, and engagement at higher ed levels. And you know, when you get into this, there's always the bandwidth problems and the equipment problems. And, you know, we're designing things that we think we're going to work for, like the business school, but only 5 students can do it at one time. Well, then what's the point? It's not ready yet for some of this. So I think the more we keep trying with game design and bringing things in, especially with timed exams and so on, and like really focusing on not only the process, but giving us the data behind it to say what's working, what's not, what do they need more help with, what are they struggling with, so that we know how to help them. Because sitting them down with these tools and letting them go, you know, under a timer doesn't tell us a lot unless we have the data to back it up. And then how can we help from there? So someone needs to tell Magic Leap to create a product that works with people with glasses. Yes.
Yeah, I saw that coming too.
I think when the price comes down for the goggles, because they're like 3,000 something still at this point, maybe at some point they'll get into prescription, like they do with snorkel gear and stuff like that. You can get a prescription mask. But yes, I agree.
And then I've got actually just 2 questions left, which should be perfect for the time we have left. The first one was, so what are the elements of a well-designed learning game? And then what guidelines should the teachers look for? So if they're going to all these different websites, all these different resources, how do they know which game is better than another? Like what basics should they look for?
I think, and this is what our team does, we play. And I like to have a play day where I tell them you can't schedule anything. We haven't done this in a while because we've been so buried, but we'll have a day, I try to do it once a month, where you can do nothing but look at what's new out there, play with it, build in it, try it out. Can we use it in a class somewhere? Because that's the best way. I mean, you got to jump in full force and just play with it and figure it out. And now, how do I apply this in a curriculum at whatever level? So I think, and this is where I go back to, you got to have, to me, it's got to have critical thinking components, you know, student agency, give them choice making capability, things like that. If it doesn't do that, then it's a game. To me, it's like, what do you get out of it? I was in Hong Kong doing a webinar, well, it's actually a in-person presentation, and they were talking about, they were so excited because they built those 3D rooms where the student goes in with the goggles and like there's things all over the walls and stuff. And at the end, I raised my hand and I said, what was the learning point to that activity? And it's like crickets. And I'm like, well, the students had fun. They went in and they could see things. They're like in a room. I'm like, yeah, but what was the outcome that you wanted there? What were they supposed to walk out of there having learned? And, you know, they hadn't gotten that far. And I think a lot of games are coming out and they haven't thought about, if it doesn't enhance their learning environment, then technology is a tool, but it's not the answer. So for me, it's got to enhance the learning. It's got to add to it. It's got to bring it out. Or I would say, shy away from it. Don't spend the money.
Perfect. And I've got one last question here. Whoever wrote this in chat too, if you want to clarify, because I think I understand. So obviously all of this we're talking about, you know, during distance or remote learning. So the question was, how are we relating this just specifically to distance learning? So, and do you put time limits or dates to reach certain levels or badges, or is this just done on their own time? And how do you incorporate this with your already your lesson plans that you have, your current lesson plans?
Yes, it's a great question, because we have, I guess right now we have synchronous and asynchronous courses going. So when you have the self-paced, you know, you need to have some kind of cutoff to motivate them that you can't just blow this off, you have to get on it. If I'm teaching K-12, I'm thinking, you know, weekly, you have deadlines. I expect you to meet those deadlines or have a good reason for not doing it. So And I tend to hedge, I've always, Thursday was like my deadline. That gives them oh, I didn't quite get it done, but then now I have Friday, they can get it done. If you're really nice, Sunday at midnight, and that's really nice. And I still do that for my doctoral students. Midnight Sunday's the drop dead date. And then Monday starts all over again and we move forward. So I feel like deadlines need to be part of the process. Whether you want to be flexible with them or not, that's up to you.
Thank you. And actually, there was a really good question that came to the chat just now. This might be a harder one, but says, I'm a PE teacher and teaching virtually creates a challenge, but I have had success engaging them. Says I've had success engaging them, but would love to have them go to an app to log in their work. Is there something, or how can I create something for that purpose?
That's a great question. And when I was teaching the lab it was teaching teachers class, but it was teaching in a lab. We addressed the PE because I had the one class I had a lot of students who played sports and were going to be coaches someday. So it became using iPads to videotape them showing instructional techniques like a golf swing. How do you do from step A to step G, whatever it is, mimicking the proper form and all that kind of stuff. For weight training, proper techniques, forms, show me on video as you walk through a voiceover step by step. But we put it all in Blackboard, which is the LMS we had at the time. So in Canvas, you could do the same thing. You have an area where they submit it. You could submit the discussion board, have peer review. So before it's officially submitted as an assignment, students can give feedback and say, hey, well, you kind of didn't explain this step very well, whatever. But I'm thinking higher level there. So maybe the technique's not going to be good for say a 6th grader. So that's a great question. And I'd have to sit and puzzle out. I would need to know more about the content you're trying to teach and then try and help you with the lesson plans and how will we approach this, thinking outside the box.
Yeah, those are some good ideas, and some really good questions too. And I saw a couple of times in chat, people are mentioning Flipgrid.
Oh yes, Flipgrid, great as an introduction tool. Yes, love Flipgrid.
Yeah, and I saw another one in here. Seesaw can submit work videos, pics, and the class can share their work with the class as well. Very good. Well, I think we are right at time. So Tony, did you have any last minute comments or anything that you wanted to share with the group this morning?
Yeah, I did briefly. Allie, I was wondering if we could actually make a copy here of the entire chat text, the transcript, and share that out with the participants as well. Folks, if you're at home and you're on the Zoom app, in the lower right-hand corner of the chat window, you got those 3 little dots there. If you click that, you can save the chat as a text document. There's so many useful links that everyone's been sharing here in that window. It might be a good idea to have. But outside of that, Nikki, man, this has just been great. Every Thursday morning, I look forward to getting on here to hear what people outside of the school district have to say as far as guidance with things that we can use in the classroom and in distance learning. So, Rick, I'd say thank you so much for taking some time out today and giving us some really, really great information. And thanks for everybody that joined us.
Okay, sorry, I didn't gear it towards distance ed as much as I should have. I didn't know that was I was just talk about your experiences as a K-12 teacher, what you did with gamification. That's kind of where I went. So I'm just trying to share some ideas, and hopefully we did that. But we're here and we want to help the community. My UM team, Dr. Johnny Orr is my assistant director. He's been on the chat, giving you guys links. We want to help you guys in any way we can. So reach out to us, and you're not bothering us. Yeah, we're buried, I will admit that, but we love our jobs. We love what we do, and we want to see people be successful. This is a time where all of us must step up and help each other. So we're here. Please reach out to us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bair. And I will make sure, Dr. Bair and Tony, to introduce the 2 of you via email. And I'll do the same, Tony and Praveen, because I think there might be some good connections with you guys there and further discussions. But I just wanted to say thank you again for everybody that came on this morning. Thank you to all of our teachers. Know that this is a hard time for you guys, and really appreciate you guys taking the time to educate yourselves further. And hopefully this will help you guys in your teaching next year. So thank you so much.